Hi, I'm Jonathan Burns with Tallahassee Nurseries. It's summertime and it is getting hot outside. Every little bit of shade you see looks like a beautiful oasis. So I'd like to talk to you about some shade tree options that might help your yard cool down a little bit. What's the best shade tree for Tallahassee? Well, we've got a lot of options. Right behind me is a beautiful big live oak tree. That's a great choice. It's very large growing, it casts a ton of shade, and it's evergreen. That's one of our best options. This is another great choice. This is our native southern magnolia. It is a classic symbol of the Deep South. Huge white blooms in the summertime that are extremely fragrant. Even if they're way up in the top of the tree, you still smell them over the whole yard. It's a really strong plant. It gets quite large, casts a very deep shade, which is extremely cooling, and has very few pest and disease problems. Another really good long-lived option for shade. This is one of my personal favorites. It's our native bald cypress. It's a deciduous tree that grows pretty quickly, especially when it's younger. It can get large, 40, 50, 60 feet or more. It tends to be kind of conical shaped, sort of like a pyramid, more upright than it is sprawling, so that's good for tighter spaces. It casts a nice shade, has almost no pest and disease problems. One concern people have is those knees that you'll see growing in wet areas, swamps and rivers. Those generally don't occur in regular garden soil. And this tree is very happy and at home in a regular landscape in a neighborhood. It doesn't have to have that wet material. I like it. It's sturdy, it's very wind resistant, and it's a very attractive tree. My next suggestion is for the Nuttall oak. I don't have a mature one to show you, so I'm actually standing underneath a Shumard oak. They're very similar in appearance. There's just a couple functional differences that make the Nuttall a little superior, especially for home landscapes. They're great deciduous oak trees. They grow large, they spread wide, cast a lot of shade. The real strength of the Nuttall is that it can grow in less than ideal soils. It works well in compacted soil, wet soil, places with bad drainage. These are all very common in our home landscapes. So I really like using that Nuttall oak. It also produces great fall color, and the leaves drop in a tight window. It's called a clean leaf drop. They fall in a relatively narrow time window, so you're not cleaning up leaves all winter, which is very convenient. Great shade and an easy tree to deal with. The last tree I want to highlight is our native red maple. It's a beautiful choice that adds a little more interest to the landscape. It casts a nice shade. It's not the widest spreading tree, but it does cast very cooling shade. It gets fairly dense. Big plus is you get red growth in the spring and in the fall. Certain varieties also put out that red growth in the summertime. So it's a nice tree that offers some food for wildlife as well as a bit of a feast for the eyes when you look at it. It's another great shade tree that also grows quickly. So we've looked at a lot of really good choices. What's the answer? Which one is the perfect shade tree for Tallahassee? Well, I'm afraid it's a little bit of a trick question. There's not one tree that's perfect for all of Tallahassee, but there is a perfect tree for each spot in Tallahassee. So the real question is which tree is right for your area? You want to take into consideration the landscape environment, what kind of sun does it get, what's the soil like, and you want to take into account your needs. Those are the two most important things. The environment will ensure that you get the right tree that will thrive there, that will be healthy, and your needs will be sure that you're happy with it in the long run. If you've got a spot for a big shade tree on the north side of the house, it's great to use an evergreen that'll block all kinds of wind, cold wind in the wintertime and keep your house warmer. If it's on the south or the east or the west side of the house, it's a great choice to use a deciduous tree. That'll give you shade in the summer, the leaves will drop in the winter and allow that warm sun to heat the house in the wintertime. If it's right by the house and you need that shade, you probably want to do something that's very wind resistant. If it's further away, maybe out by the road, it's great to use something that's real showy, and you don't have to be as concerned about wind resistance, because if a tree falls out there, it's not going to hit your house. So there's a lot of things to take into consideration. When you're ready to get some shade in your yard, cool things down in the summer, come on into Tallahassee Nurseries and we'll find the perfect shade tree for your house.